Hi everybody, Deb and Jackie here for this Friday's Take 10. And today we're going to look at all the fall fabrics that are coming to market. Um, when we put this together, we kind of decided that the usual suspects, if you will, that are out there, the major fabric jobbers, you're probably aware of some of the new sampling that's happening. So as much as we know that designers love new resources and secret sources, we're going to share some new launches, some new collections, some new products that are coming to market, even some new fabric companies that are coming to market, kind of sprinkled in with the usual big boys like Fabricot or Casamance or some of those. So let's dive in. Hi Jackie, how are you?
I'm great. I can't wait to share all these beautiful fabrics. We love our fabrics.
Yes, we do. We do. Okay, let's get started. First up is Raoul Duffy for Christopher Farr cloth. Some of you might know Christopher Farr, been around for a long time, does amazing things, really was working in wallpaper and now has ventured in about 4 or 5 years ago into cloth. And he selected 6 textile designs from the archives of Raoul Duffy, the renowned French artist, and these are several of the swatches that are up there. A little backstory on this. Duffy, as I said, was French-born, went to the École des Beaux-Arts, and actually in the early 1900s set up a small factory in Lyon and was designing and printing fabrics, but really is much better known for his illustrations and his paintings like you see here. So Christopher's delved into his archives and is reprinting some of his fabrics. And this is really sort of a trend spot, if you will, because it's really about sort of artisan inspiration. And as you'll see, some of the following collections that I'm going to be talking about, and Jackie and we'll be talking about, is really based on this trend of reaching out and in the collision, I should say, between art and design, if you will. One of them was Pierre Frey. This is actually the studio of a world-renowned graffiti artist named Toxic. And Patrick Frey and Pierre Frey loved his work, bought some of his art pieces, and then spoke to him about translating it into what they called their street art collection, which debuted in September. So this is Toxic with some of his graffiti, and these are the 2 new fabric patterns for Pierre Frey. And believe me, huge departure, because when you think of Pierre Frey, you think of this sort of quintessential French house. They're doing traditional pieces. They own Braconnay, Fabiani Borghini. It's just, this is a huge departure for them, and it was really wonderful to see them up close and personal. They actually have a piece of Toxic's art with their fabrics in the showroom.
Deb, do we know what the printing method is for that?
Yes, it's screen.
It's screen printed, and it's amazing that they can get that wash quality. I mean, that goes to their experience with printing and what they can achieve there.
Right.
It's just absolutely amazing.
And part of it has to do with owning some of their own mills and working really closely with the mill and the new technology, for sure. Yeah, but aren't they wonderful?
It's beautiful, absolutely. This is one of my favorites. I'm in love with this.
So I'm a toile fanatic. Jackie's has a little bit of that obsession in her also. So in September was the 200th anniversary of the death of Oberkampf, who was the creator of Toile de Jour and also of the copper engraving process. I shouldn't say he actually didn't invent the copper engraving process. He brought it to commercial use in France. So this is one of his toiles. They pulled it out of the archives at Pierre Frey, and then Pierre again did a collaboration with Matt Juicy, who is an artist in in France, and they did these sort of fluorescent hand-colored dyes. And this was, speaking of technique, Jackie, this was really difficult to make this happen with the inks. They were having issues with the inks, but they did come up with the technology to do this, and this will be coming to market first of the year in the U.S.
And, you know, I took a really close look at this on the internet, took every pic, because I actually just finished a Miami 12 for Art Basel. And so I really was interested in this technique. And literally, it really looks to me like the artist did this with Day Glow magic markers.
I think he did.
The original prints. And so to get that quality, which is very translucent and fluid, and have it come across in a screen print like this is just amazing to me.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. And then again, another collaboration between artist and fabric company, Clark & Clark, which in the U.S. is repped by Dura-Lee. This is a UK company. Reached out to Kim Parker, and she's famous for this sort of bold, exuberant floral style using contemporary colors. She's always wanted to do fabrics and wallpapers. She's very much influenced by arts and crafts and the sort of Bloomsbury movements. This is sort of next generation Bluebell Gray, one of my favorites. We've been seeing them at Maison for 4 or 5 years, and where you can see Bluebell Gray in the States is actually in their bedding line at Bed Bath & Beyond. So this is called Art Book, and this is by Clark & Clark. They're great. Look at them.
And again, their colors and their print quality and the hand of their ground cloths is just beautiful. You can tell it's a European line, you know, when you see it.
So again, wallpapers and fabrics, you'll see that a lot of collaborations are introducing not just fabrics, but wall coverings and pattern on the walls. And then this is Constantine Kakanas, this is for Michael Smith in Templeton Fabrics. So it's a new collection, and Constantine is really well known. He's in LA. He's been a fixture for years on the international art scene, and he's designed fabrics for haute couture, Yves Saint Laurent, Christian Lacroix, you know, all the titans. So his signature illustrations are very well known in the fashion industry, and as an illustrator has now branched into interiors, and these are 3 of his new collection, again through Michael S. Smith and Templeton Fabrics. Kerry Joyce is a textile designer, and he has a different take in his collections, and you might have seen some of his advertising. He's really all about performance, and there is a certain trend that's happening for all this sort of, you know, heavy-duty multitasking fabrics. We saw it at High Point, especially for upholstery. So what you're looking at is his new woven collection. It's for indoor. What's interesting about it is it's all done with Sombrella yarns. So it's acrylics, and he has some really interesting jacquard weaves and things, and it has a much softer hand to it than some of the outdoor fabrics that we're used to with Sombrella. But he has a new collection, and then look at this. This is acrylic and alpaca.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. And then these 2 printed pieces are on linen and wool, and these will speak to another trend that we've spotted that we'll be talking about a little later, which is sort of all about silhouetted florals. But big at market, as I mentioned, and these manufacturers, and there's many more that are going to be jumping on board with Valdez Weavers, but Thibaut, Calico, Century, Cravat have introduced Krypton Home. So it's, you know, Krypton is another performance fabric. They're moving into the residential market. We had a demonstration, didn't we, Jackie, at Thibaut. I mean, literally she poured red wine on a white sofa, and it beat it up, and she poured it off.
Yeah, it just lays there like a little pool, and you can wick it up. And, you know, this durability and the indestructibility of these fabrics is so important for today's homeowner now, because they are, you know, they have less furniture. They're not putting their good furniture in a formal room where no one sits on it. It's lived in every single day and gets a lot of use. And so the hand of this fabric was great as well. And right now it's only in solids, but they're moving into print soon.
Yeah, but it was the softest performance fabric I've ever really touched.
I put it on anything. I wish my sofas were covered in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's your chance to finally have a white sofa.
Right. So the whole idea of silhouetted florals kind of coming out of the toile, where you're only, you're looking at one colorway, one or duo colors. On the left is actually a swipe from Alessandra Branca's Instagram account. I love her. I follow her because she has got some of the best photographs. But she spotted this, I believe this is Barney's in New York. So again, the intersection of fashion and interiors, but the reason I took it is this whole sort of toile but silhouetted florals that are coming to market.
And the camouflage room is making a comeback now.
Oh, absolutely.
Where, everything is covered in one fabric, which kind of surprised me. I've seen that in a couple of trade mags lately.
That sort of death buy is what I call it. So this is a David Ajaji for Noel, and it's been a highly anticipated collaboration between him and the creative director, Dorothy Kozenas, who's a genius. So this is sort of his perspective. If you're not familiar with him, he's an architect, interior designer. There's actually a retrospective of his career at the Art Institute right now. And so this is sort of his perspective on geometrics and organics, and it's all done through weave structures and print techniques. So there's a huge range of patterns and structures and textures, a lot of it inspired by African geography and culture. Some of his textiles or some of his objects, I should say, are already in this Cooper Hewitt. So he's somebody to watch out. And the reason I put this in is so often we overlook what's happening in the contract market, not only from a function standpoint, but from, there's some really cutting edge, not only technical textiles, but really beautiful looks in contract. And again, if you're getting 150,000 rubs, or you're getting, a wide width for sheers for draperies, why wouldn't you want to put those on your client's window in a residential setting? And price points are not, there's always this sort of myth that price points are more in commercial, and that's not necessarily true either.
No, and a lot of times you can find commercial for less, depending on what it is that you're searching for.
Right. So this is Sophie Allais, and I had to put this in because this was one of my favorite stops when we were in Paris. So this is actually, Florence. She and her brother are now running the company. It's a lace company. They're the 5th generation, and they do haute couture lace. This is their showroom, and you can see all of these pieces are lace. They put colored papers behind them when they have to, so that they show. And this is one of her laces. And she is moving into the interiors home, just like a lot of fashion designers are, and she's doing it with lace, which, it's not your grandmother's lace anymore. For example, this is actually inspired from Frida, help me.
Kahlo?
Yes.
Frida Kahlo?
Yes, and so this is lace that's completely beaded. It was stunning.
La la, right?
Yeah. Or this sort of really modern take on lace, and what you're seeing here is this is bamboo, just making these sort of snake things that are woven into the lace.
It looks like green coral.
But look at the back and the netting and the tulle. You have this sort of really sort of ribbon, scrolling, viney, which is very traditional, right? And then it's.
And I'm assuming that bamboo is encased in the lace.
Yes.
It looks like that's fantastic. Look at that. The technique that goes into that.
Oh my God. Obviously the price point is high. By the way, her firm is the firm that did the lace for Alexander McQueen for Kate Middleton's wedding dress. We saw the lace when we were there. What's interesting about it is they didn't even know that the lace was being used in her wedding gown until they saw the wedding gown as she came out and got into the carriage.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
that hush hush. And Alexander McQueen, and Sarah Burton obviously have been longtime clients of theirs, so they didn't know that they had purchased the lace, but which was an interesting story that she was telling us. But I mean, here's an example. This is feathers and bugle beads on lace. This is actually Valentino from Autumn Winter 15. So she does a lot, and she's moving into, but it's open to designers. I mean, if you have that one
Yeah.
project, and I mean, I love the idea of traditional lace. And I meant to tell you, so she was telling us that it takes 10 years to learn how to use the looms that actually are the lace looms. So
That's
when
longer than to learn to do brain surgery.
actually, yeah. Seriously. So she has a 50, once you learn on the machine, you always stay on that machine. It's your
Wow. And
machine.
Deb, this reminds me of sort of one of our wow moments at this last High Point Market at Ann Gish, and she had the green chiffon covered pillow that was such a statement piece and so delicate and really almost like an heirloom piece. And that's where you would use something like this. It's something that just makes such a huge impact in a room.
I wanted to buy every piece in it. And not only does it take 10 years to learn how to string the loom, but to do one lace pattern, it typically takes 5 months to string it for one
Oh,
pattern. So that's why it's expensive, because it's one of a kind. They're basically stringing a loom and making it for you, which is pretty awesome. So this is Dadar, and this is Hermes Cavalier. This is a collaboration between Hermes and Dadar, and they took all the letters of Hermes. You can kind of see the E here and the R, and they put it together in this jacquard weave, which is kind of interesting. So there's also a perspective that's happening with it. So it's kind of like taking two-dimensional and turning it into three-dimensional. It's really an interesting piece. This is new and coming to the U.S. It's actually in the U.S. Another.
And this.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say, I mean, that has such an Art Deco vibe, and I know we keep hammering on the Art Deco, but it's coming so strong right now, and it's getting more true to form.
Yep, absolutely.
It has a very Deco vibe to it. Go ahead.
So another trend that we spotted is this sort of dabs and dashes and lines, and here's an example of it in Dottie Stripe from Tanya Vartan, or here's another of Constantine Kakanas's. Here's some examples from actually from Biante in August, and several textile designers. It's kind of moving. It's the sort of that millennial textile designer that's moving away from frets and lattices and those type of graphics, going into this more sort of hand-drawn, some of it influenced by stone. This is Rebecca Atwood. She's a textile designer in Brooklyn, and a lot of these, not only are they printed, both wallpapers and fabrics, but she also does a lot of shibori dyeing, which is where you pleat the fabric and you bind it off, and then you design it, and then when you pull it apart, it gives you these folds. This is a shibori dyed piece behind these bolts. So here you can see some of her work. Again, all printed, hand printed. And she's doing some really interesting dyeing techniques. This is Knitting and Goyle. They do accessories, but they also do fabrics, cut fabrics. So here you can see, but done up and made and sewn. Some of the interesting, again, graphics are taking on. It's not two-dimensional as much anymore. It's that whole sort of perspective aspect, right? You're trying to get it to feel three-dimensional. Yep, very Escher-like. Bluebell Gray, one of our faves. This is their new signature stripe that they introduced this fall, being woven. The story behind that is that it's being woven in hand woven in one of the Scottish mills. So it's the whole, again, that whole artisan aspect, handcrafted, that's becoming so important.
Loving to see they're adding trim to their product as well.
So this is Braconnet, again, owned by Pierre Frey, and this is their Empress Eugenie collection. So it's sort of a mix of, Napoleon III, florals, and very traditional French that has been updated with this sort of like fascination with the East and this sort of kind of like mystic. It's not. It's more about mystical Asian and East. And for example, this piece is stunning. This is linen, printed and embroidered in applique. So this doesn't really show up digitally. This paisley, which again, Empress Eugenie, the inspiration behind that is that whole idea of paisley and the paisley shawl from Napoleon III. Here it is on the table. Here's another piece similar to the stripe, but this repeat is like 36 inches from here to here.
Oh my gosh!
I know.
Well, I noticed the sort of darkening and deepening of the color selections in the European brands, and more of a richness that we haven't seen in a while.
Mm-hmm. And see, kind of taking, Middle Eastern influences. This is actually, again, embroidered and printed, a lot of mixed media in it, but lots, a wealth of inspiration from this whole thing.
It's very much of like a sharp bohemian look. Bohemian usually has been in the past sort of fuzzy and worn and old. I mean, it's like a new, fresh bohemian.
Which this is Black Pop.
Yeah.
At Decorex. This is what they did is they entered into a collaboration with the National Portrait Gallery, and they put together a licensed collection, and they basically took portraits and art out of the gallery and they deconstructed it and built out these designs. So this collection that they're just introducing is the Tudor range. So it's basically a deconstructed, of these Tudor paintings. Here it is on a chair. Here.
And how amazing the application on the actual antiques, and then that sort of faux bust next to the real bust. I love that presentation.
Yeah. And as you can see, these are velvets and jacquards. Really interesting. Now this is some technical weaving.
Well, do you think that's all digital print?
This is digitally printed on velvets, but this is a velvet, and this is a velvet. That's not a velvet. This is a jacquard.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So if you were with us with our first look at High Point, you know that one of the trends we're forecasting for 2016 is dark and sexy, and part of that trend is tropicals, both in lights and darks. We're moving into, away a bit from florals, going into tropicals. Who knows? Vegetables and fruits might be next. We haven't seen those on our cycle screen for a while, but this is Daydar. This was just done for Elle Decor and the Elle Decor Show House. This is Waikiki Hotel in this room, and so again, you can see it on the wallpaper. Don't you love the green blinds, by the way, if any of you are window covering people? But why would we'd have to put a beige blind in there, and I love the idea that they did the green. So here's some examples of light tropicals. This is Demore Studio for Pierre Frey. This is House of Hackney. This is can't name escapes me, but again, you can see lights and darks, ferns, palm fronds, bamboo, it all done in blown up exuberant repeats and dark grounds.
And I think part of this is the looking back now to the 70s and 70s decor coming sort of to the forefront, and this palm fronds, all that were very heavy during that time, and I think that that's an element that people are picking up on in a strong way.
Right, and a little bit of Art Deco, and then for us in the U.S., it's mix in that Miami Beach vibe and that classic sort of Lily Pulitzer and not necessarily preppy, but moving into the more sophisticated looks. So traditionally, Charlotte Moss, this is Charlotte Moss 2.0. So the idea with this collection for Fabrica was that these sort of sea glass greens and ivories and beige, and then coral is how she punched it up. They work as foundation pieces with other things, or they could stand alone. So the whole idea is versatility in this collection. This piece is actually embroidered. It's okay, kind of ho-hum to me. But you know, your client is probably going to like it. First of all, they're going to like the name. Second of all, it works. It's classic.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Reed for Schumacher. This is actually a fabric. This is a panel. And this kind of speaks to this whole idea. Well, first of all, Schumacher, as anybody knows, their Amari dragon or their Chinese dragon was placed all over the place in the last couple of years, right? So everybody is now coming out with dragon prints. So this is kind of like his, you know, this is the peacock print, you know, versus the dragon print.
The same layout.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Half drop. And the other thing that's interesting about it is that it's obviously in large scale, but it kind of speaks to chintz coming back in play.
Yeah.
Because Tory Burch just did her flagship in Europe, all in chintz. Again, talk about that camouflage room or that death by chintz. She did that in her flagship storeroom. He's starting to show chintz is starting to maybe make a comeback. That's why I stuck it in. But this is his other. These are his other pieces. So for me, it was about this graphic impact. So we've gone from that fretwork to more of this cubist, a little bit of brutalist. You know, here this is called deconstructed stripe, and then this one is this is a pretty dazzling. This is 100% silk, and Schumacher says this is probably the most technically complex fabric they have ever produced because it's non-repeating in 96-inch panels, and so it's actually stitched together. These are silk taffeta pieces that have been patchwork stitched together, and then you buy it by the yard.
Wow. And again, that's got that total three-dimensional Escher vibe going. All of these really do. I mean, visual motion, you know, is the texture here with these fabrics.
Right. And so then this design, this is sort of his homage to Albert Hadley with this taking all these different stripes and putting them together and then breaking them apart and deconstructing them. Then this is Tumbling Blocks, and that's his homage to David Hicks. What's interesting about this, for those of us that know that a lot of these licensed collections, all the celebrity designer is doing is signing off on them. A lot of these are archival, or some other designer has done this for them. Miles actually hand drew this with black pen and magic marker, and they translated this digitally on linen.
Yeah, it's really refreshing to see original work getting out there.
Yeah, right?
Rather than, just recoloring old patterns.
Yeah, exactly. So part of that, talk about that 70 Lives, Jackie. This is Tanya Vartan, and if you know Tanya Vartan, she's pretty much known for this whole, geode, malachites, kind of Tony Duquette-esque, if you will. This is patchwork, so again, maybe hinting to, these ideas of breaking something down, piecing something back together. So that's what this is. This is not pieced and sewn together, but it's, pieces were cut and then digitally printed, right? But again, taking that sort of South Beach vibe, 70s cane, wicker, herringbone, rattan, and then translating it into printed fabrics. Here she is. This is called, this is splatterware. This is her toile. And the reason I put the smaller piece in versus the full pattern repeat is interesting colorway, right? This sort of soft aqua, purple and brown, right? Starting to see chocolate brown making a statement again.
And the aqua and purple, or even teal and aubergine, a big combination coming up.
Yeah. This is Jennifer Shorto, again, a textile aficionado that had a huge vintage textile collection and decided to turn it in with her pieces, turn it into her own collection. So some of these are digitally printed, some of them are wovens, and again, it's all about that graphic impact in a different way than thank God we've moved away from fretwork and lattice and chevrons. I'm like, and icons and Suzanni's, thank the Lord. So then precious metal, gosh, right, Jackie, if you didn't have,
Oh
you
yeah.
didn't get the memo if you didn't have brass and crystal and lucite in your showroom.
Bring on your bling because it's everywhere and every possible combination of metals and tone and sheen.
And so what you're seeing here is this is called metal base. This is from Creation Bauman, and this is a metal fabric. And I'm going to show it to you in a minute. But again, this is Elitis's wallpaper, and it's actually a film embossed. So would they give? But it looks like tin, doesn't it? Like the
Oh
old
yeah.
ceilings or anaglypta.
Beautiful.
And it comes in different colors. Or this is Petra, and this is a jacquard fabric.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that gorgeous?
How they wove that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. But here's metal base. So it's almost like a solar screen. It has a black black to the outside, but it comes in copper, stainless, old bronze, brass, but look at how it drapes. The solar screen we know in shades would not drape like that.
No, and what a statement. I mean, look at the sheen at the bottom of the panels. You can see that metallic sheen coming off of it. It's stunning.
Right. For modern interiors, would you not love,
yeah.
I mean, right? Plus it's this, so it has some obviously has solar screen to it. Casamance, which is repped in the United States, has done a sub-brand, and they're similar to what Romo's done with their Black Edition, and it's now called Misha, and this is their Paris collection, so it's sort of all about this, the Paris life, definitely influenced on the whole Art Deco, if you will, but again, metals. Look at this gaufrage jacquard. You've got ombre happening here. You've got metallic threads on the base cloth. You've got, how about that faux fur, right?
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, that's looking like the faux furs that we saw at Christopher Guy and High Point. They were such high quality. We absolutely thought they were real.
Yeah.
They were. I mean, it's all about embellishment and richness and texture here. Really gorgeous stuff.
And look, doesn't this sort of look like oxidized metal in this velvet?
Yeah.
Right? Because look how they've got it kind of this washed, streaming look, which is, again, technically is amazing.
And we've seen like the tie-dyed velvets, in the past couple of markets, but this is really taking that ink wash, look and putting some planning behind it, and now using it as a pattern on this, even though it's an abstract pattern.
So what I'm wondering is if this isn't woven as a gaufrage or a jacquard, and then if they're not digitally printing over it.
That very well could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense, because I don't know how they can weave that in there.
Right. So this is Lumières de Ville, which means city lights. And it's a viscose, so it's a rayon velvet, and what they have is a lamination film on top of it. So and it's done with iridescent color, so it gives this sort of depth and richness to color. Here's a close-up of it.
And it's amazing now how the technology that we are experiencing, the revolution in fabric technology and printing technology, is impacting our industry so heavily and so quickly. The things that they're able to do now and the creativity behind it are amazing. And so fabrics really are changing, and they're going to keep on morphing over the next few years.
So this is overseas, and this is genius. This is a dévoré or a gaufrage technique. It's on a sheer, and it's in chromatic tones, but it's actually they've laminated metal on the raised portion of the jacquard, so that you can get it in gold, silver, or copper.
That's amazing.
Right. So what you're looking at, is this is the metal lamination, and then this is the dévoré, which means it's sheer, so it burned away the metal to give this look. It's genius. Yeah. Ocean Drive, again, that sort of Art Deco, South Beach kind of thing, is interesting in this is it's 100% silk. And what they've done is use silk yarns that have luster or gloss to them and matte finishes, and they've woven them together along with the natural background in these quarter circles, so that you're getting this summer matte, summer shiny, and then it's again with this natural background. Large pattern repeat. Another aspect that's trending these days is Liberty. So it used to be, Liberty's been around since the 1920s, these really fun florals. Some of you remember what happened with Target and the success that Target had with their whole home collection for Liberty, but it's kind of back on everybody's radar screen. This time it's all about putting their prints on home appliances and homeware and other things that you wouldn't expect, whether it's suitcases or tents, or this is a radio, or how about that sewing machine?
That's fantastic. And I mean, I just absolutely would have died for that as a teenager.
I know. It's like, oh my God.
Give my right leg. I couldn't give my right arm because then I wouldn't be able to sew.
I know. But their latest collection is inspired by the book The Secret Garden. So they took some archive prints and they reworked them with hand coloring and hand drawing. And then they also used some innovative techniques. They did some hammered, they took actual florals and hammered them to get some depth and mutilation interesting to it for the print, for the digital print. And they did some leaf painting. And so this is Secret Garden, which is really, again, Bloomsbury, kind of William Morris-esque, right?
Oh yeah, and it's almost like a hip Laura Ashley vibe now with all of these complex florals and the different scale florals from tiny to super huge.
And Levalier, the reason I put this in is we actually saw them again. This is their new collection. They have a larger new collection, but this one stood out. And basically, it's the fact, this is the third time I've seen it from major houses, and Moray is coming back. Now again, some of the new techniques in weaving and embossing are allowing us to not have the issues that we did with Moray, but they made a huge statement in Paris Design Week with this collection.
Yeah. Well, and Moray, I mean, that really is the old-fashioned equivalent of these, what we're seeing is all the natural-esque fabrics that are marbles and agates and things inspired. And then, Moray also is the bedfellow of chintz, right?
Yep, absolutely.
You can't have chintz without Moray.
Love Elitis. This fabric. This is their new collection. As you can see, it's digitally printed, large pattern repeats, right? Because when you're looking at this, you're thinking how small it is. Now, this is how it translates on the window, both in sheer and in polycottons and linens. This is a close-up, again, digitally printed, so you get this blurred, water, marked artistic quality to it. This was stunning. This is like a mural on fabric. It is was manipulated, digitally printed, comes in a sheer and in a fabric. It's gorgeous, right?
That is beautiful. I went to the Magic Show a few months ago here in Las Vegas, which is clothing merchandising, and a showroom had something like that put up, and it was just drop dead gorgeous. It was absolutely the hit of the show. It was their curtain around their showroom, and nobody cared about their clothes. They all just wanted that curtain.
So here are the three colorways in one. They have two different florals that they blow up in. Here is the aqua done in on the window. So that makes a statement. That's just, it's beautiful. And this is also, again, what I love about Elitis is the technical expertise that they put into these fabrics. So this is kind of, playing off the whole idea of architectural, dadu paneling and everything. But this is all jacquard woven and embroidered, because that's what it looks like.
Oh my gosh.
So it's actually jacquard woven, then this is a satin stitch, and then here you've got your stitch around the motifs.
That's
so
amazing.
Depth to it. This is actually the artist rendering to give you an idea of the scale of the pattern repeat. So they do some really beautiful things. Now, House of Hackney, again, some of that more Bloomsbury, arts and crafts, Art Deco. They were inspired for their new collection with the Diana Veerland's Garden in Hell room. And that whole collection was built around this room. That was their inspiration. So they're saying that they're seeing this sort of psychedelic or psychedelia 70s, as you mentioned, Jackie, kind of creeping into traditional floral. So it's like William Morris meets Bloomsbury on psychedelic drugs kind of scenario, as you
Yeah,
can see.
and
And look at
that
that. Look at all this
color
pattern.
palette.
It's like
Yeah,
crazy,
it's
right?
crazy.
Yeah.
Deep, deep colors,
See, here's the
moodiness.
screen. I mean, this is beautiful.
Wow,
So this
gorgeous.
pattern is what you're seeing in the banding of the screen, and then this is their floral. And kind of it's flat, doesn't have a lot of dimension. It's almost sort of tree of life Edwardian, right? But then
Yes.
in Bloomsbury, but then it's, you've got these psychedelic kind of colors. Again, remember I just showed you Pierre Frey with the day glow magic markers, right?
Yeah, and then you have the day glow on this pink selection here.
Right, right. Pretty crazy. Menswear, huge, huge, huge. Plaid stripes, pinstripes, houndstooth checks, wools. Get those in your sample books and start showing those to your clients. Oops. And with that, my fave, this is Scott Meacham Wood, and he has just introduced a new line of tartans, both in wools and in cottons. This was the Hampton Show House, right, Jackie?
Yeah, it was a great, great room, and he's so. I love Scott because he's so true to who he is and true to his passion about tartans, and he uses them in such unconventional ways. I mean, this is a beach-themed room. Who would think of wool plaid on the draperies? But it absolutely works. He's a genius with mixing color. And tartan and buffalo plaid are coming on so
Oh my
hugely
gosh.
strong.
Which is right up my wheelhouse. I love it, love it. So here's his new tartan line. Here's some of his pieces, mix it with tartan wear. I mean, it's gorgeous, right? And the colorations are great. If they're not, they don't have that sort of muted feel that a traditional tartan does.
Well, and I think, he's done a great job of educating people through his blog, and, what he does of how to use them. And so if you are, a little bit of afraid of it, I would encourage you to check out his blog. What is it? Tartan Scout. Tartan
Scott.
Tartan Scott or Scout?
Scout. I can't remember. It's one of the two. Google it.
Tartan Scout. And he's at San Francisco based.
Yeah, he's in San Francisco, right? So another trend that's out there in lots of different product categories is this whole sort of Nordic modern, Danish modern, kind of clean but more colorful. So this is a retro Scandinavian collection from Clark & Clark again. So it's more of on their contemporary side. They're doing appliques and embroidered on linens and mixing it with velvets, as you can see, whether they're in neutrals or in pops of color.
Kind of a Mary Mecco vibe, which again was a 70s, mainstay.
So last but not least, last in September, I was at Mood, and Mood is a fabric show in Brussels, and basically manufacturers and jobbers are there making purchases that'll show up in our books probably late 2016. There's a lot of very innovative stuff, so it's prototypical, and it's going to take a while to get to market, but then there are things that you can actually book probably in 9 months to a year. So this is from one of my favorite linen manufacturers actually in Belgium, but again, this sort of artist illustrative. So what you've got is, as you can see, it's sort of an ombre linen, right? And then you've got this embroidery that's giving you this illustrative feel with the flowers, and then these are faux leather little flowers that have been attached and it sort of not really appliqued but stitched on. It was gorgeous.
And I love just the hand-drawn nature of the embroidery and sort of that free-form, just loose sketch feel to it.
So these are some things that are kind of a sneak peek that are coming to market but aren't there yet. So again, we had this sort of, remember the old crinkle polyester, but here they're taking shears and they're actually sewn on ribbons, something that we hadn't seen for a while. But then knits, definitely. I mean, these are all knitted fabrics.
Wow.
So,
is that ribbon on the gray one?
yep,
Ribbon embroidered?
yep.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy, right? Look at the
Mm-hmm.
embroidery. Again, the embroidery that's coming out of India is pretty amazing, both machine and
Amazing.
hand. But look at that. So that was on a linen ground, and then this is soutache cord, rat tail, is in all embroidered, all sewn on
Mm-hmm.
and embroidered.
Beautiful.
And then something that was kind of interesting, we saw this, is this whole idea of, these sort of tile patterns inspiring other product categories. So again, this is, this Moroccan kind of feel in tiles, very busy in pattern, now being translated into printed goods for in textiles.
Yeah, and we saw that in the product collection. Was it Prada or Valentino? I can't remember. In
Prada.
Italy,
Yep.
a few years ago, and all the digital printing of the Majolica tiles, so gorgeous.
So that's it for our fabric lookbook. We'll be editing it in the next 72 hours. Give us till the first of next week to get it up and running for you on our website. Does anybody have any questions? You can type them in now. We want to remind you that, again, Jackie and I will be taking our VIP Market Experience Tour to High Point in Spring Market from the 15th of April to the 20th of April. It is 6 days, 5 nights, insider access, exclusive events. It's been very successful, and we only take 20, maximum of 20 designers, so or buyers or retailers. So if anyone is interested, shoot us an email or text us, or Facebook us with a PM, and we can give you all the information. And then also, you guys are the first to know about this. And Jackie, take it away about our new venture.
Well, we're really excited. We've been working on this for a while, but we're now going to bring the tour to the Las Vegas market, and I'm particularly excited about this because Las Vegas is my hometown, so I'm very proud of our market. And it's really going to be a really fun design / hanging out in Las Vegas experience. It will be 3 nights, 4 days of immersive luxury VIP experience, just as we provide in High Point. Everything's taken care of for you. The only thing that you have to do is to get yourself to Las Vegas. Everything else is included on the tour. We have exclusive events, some great things that we're planning, some fantastic dinners, a Vegas show, all kinds of great things. So that's going to probably go up on the website today, hopefully. So if you are interested, haven't been to Las Vegas market, it's a completely different experience from High Point with its own merits and its own things that are really fun to do. So we hope that you will check us out on the website, on our tours page, and if you're interested, sign up for that tour. Again, we are only doing 20 people because we want to make sure that everybody has a fantastic experience. So it will fill up quickly. So market is January 23rd to the 26th is our tour. So please check it out on the website shortly.
Thanks. Okay, I have one question. Just going to end the show and bring it back to where I need to go. Michelle wanted to see the Sophie LA. And where did you go? Here we go. Gotta find it. Give me a minute here. Here we go. There you go, Michelle. So this is the Valentino dress from Autumn Winter, this 15. But you go into her website and see some of her looks. They're pretty amazing. So any other questions before we let you go? If not, everybody have a fabulous Thanksgiving and start to your holiday season. We're bringing in the holiday season in a bang here in Chicago. Snow to start about 8 o'clock tonight, and I'm expecting 10 inches. So I'm battening the hatches down. I'm actually going to the grocery store so in case I don't get plowed out.
Well, I hate to say it's bright, sunny, and beautiful here today, so I'll try and feel some pain for you while you're there. Enjoy your turkey. Thank you everybody for coming. And I forgot to mention too, I am going to be doing a speaking tour of San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Laguna Design Centers on December 8th, 9th, and 10th. If you're going to be out there, we'll post that up on the website as well, and we're going to be talking about global trends and some other really interesting things. So hopefully if you're in that area, you'll come out and see me. So have a great holiday. Bye, Deb.
Bye-bye.